और इन्होंने एक बात बहुत अच्छी बोली कि 3 मंथ्स में जो रिसेंसी बायस है वो आपको दिखेगा, सो उसमें अपना पूरा एफर्ट झोंक दो। So let's welcome Mayur. और इन्होंने, I mean you already know that most of the people who are coming nowadays have cracked RBI Grade B. So he has just cracked RBI Grade B this year. और आपका first attempt था ना ये?
Yes.
And he has been UPSC aspirant for past many years. मतलब दो attempt serious दिए हैं इन्होंने. He could not clear it. और he comes from a family where there is a huge pressure to मतलब become something. अच्छे खासे पढ़े लिखे लोग होते हैं ना, जब फैमिली में एक प्रेशर होता है कि तुम भी कुछ बन के दिखाओ. सो ही हैड दैट प्रेशर, सो ही डिसाइडेड कि मैं यूपीएससी करूँगा. नहीं हुआ. इट वाज काइंड ऑफ अ सेटबैक, बट ही पुल्ड हिमसेल्फ बैक एंड ही स्टार्टेड प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर आरबीआई ग्रेड बी. तो इन्होंने सबसे जो यूनिक बात है, ही क्रैक्ड आरबीआई ग्रेड बी बाय प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर दिस एग्जाम इन जस्ट 3 months. इन जस्ट 3 months 15 घंटे की इन्होंने सिटिंग दी है उस 3 महीने में. दो हिज यूपीएससी बैकग्राउंड हेल्प्ड हिम, बट बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे यूपीएससी वाले भी हैं, दोज हु आर नॉट एबल टू क्लियर इफ दे स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग आफ्टर द नोटिफिकेशन, बिकॉज इट टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट, राइट, टू अंडरस्टैंड द पैटर्न ऑफ द एग्जाम, टू प्रिपेयर अकॉर्डिंगली, टू ऑर्गेनाइज योर सेल्फ दैट वे एंड लीव योर यूपीएससी ओरिएंटेशन. तो एक एफर्ट लगता है. यूपीएससी कहना आसान है कि यूपीएससी वालों को एज रहता है, बट एक एफर्ट लगता है. सो बहुत मेहनत की इन्होंने और इनको बहुत चैलेंजेस भी आए हैं ड्यूरिंग हिज जर्नी. व्हेन ही वाज गिविंग हिज फेज़ 1 एग्जाम, बारिश बहुत हो रही थी, ये पूरे भीग गए थे एग्जाम सेंटर पहुंचते पहुंचते, एंड ही वाज शिवरिंग ड्यूरिंग द एग्जाम. तो वो इन्होंने हैंडल किया. फेज़ 2 में भी इनकी मतलब एकदम हालत ख़राब हो गई थी जस्ट आफ्टर द फर्स्ट पेपर, बिकॉज स्पेक्स पहनते हैं तो स्ट्रेन बहुत पड़ रहा था. लॉन्ग सिटिंग आज थे, पैरासीटामोल लेके इन्होंने पेपर दिया है. इंटरव्यू में इनके साथ वो गुगली हो गई कि ये गए तो 21 बंदों का इंटरव्यू होता है एक दिन, एंड ही वाज द लास्ट वन. तो पूरा दिन वहाँ बैठे हैं, मतलब आप देखो सुबह 8 बजे से लेके 4-5 बजे तक आप बैठे हो. बट ठीक है, इवेंचुअली इट हेल्प्ड हिम, बिकॉज उस दौरान उन्होंने कुछ पढ़ा और इंटरव्यू में पहले ही क्वेश्चन उस पर था. सो समटाइम्स योर लक ऑल्सो फेवर्स यू, सम थिंग्स आर ब्लेसिंग इन डिस्गाइज. हमें नहीं पता होता है लाइफ में कि जो चल रहा है वो बुरा हो रहा है कि अच्छा हो रहा है. Hello everyone. Today I have with me Mr. Mayur Agrawal in this Success Story with Topper series. So first of all I would like to welcome Mayur. मैं थोड़ा सा brief introduction दूंगा उनके बारे में. सो मयूर जिस फैमिली से आते हैं उसमें आज तक किसी ने गवर्नमेंट जॉब नहीं की है. ही इज़ द फर्स्ट वन टू क्रैक दिस, एंड आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड, विच इज़ अ वेरी बिग थिंग, व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू टेल यू, दैट ही हैज़ क्रैक्ड आरबीआई ग्रेड बी विद जस्ट 3 months of preparation. Of course his UPSC background helped him, but उन्होंने जो वो 3 महीने 15 घंटे की तपस्या की है, I think that is something due to which he deserves this, what he has become today. और ये बहुत organized है. During this success story you will get to know कि कैसे अपने रूम में ये sticky notes चिपकाते रहते थे, important points note करके he used to paste everything on his walls. बहुत ज़्यादा organized है. He is kind of a strategist, I would say, who believes that एक लिमिटेड चीज़ करो, अच्छे से करो, बट विद प्रॉपर स्ट्रैटेजी सो दैट यू गो इन द राइट डायरेक्शन. सो इट्स लाइक मोर देन स्पीड, इट इज़ द डायरेक्शन विच मैटर्स. तो आप ज़रूर इनकी सक्सेस स्टोरी सुनिए. इफ़ यू आर ऑल्सो दी वन जो कम टाइम में प्रिपेयर करना चाहते हैं, यू विल गेट के इन्होंने कैसे किया. सो मयूर, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल माई वेरी फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, very simple question, tell me something about your background.
Okay, so myself Mayur Agrawal. I have done my graduation and post-graduation in commerce from University of Delhi, and currently I'm working as audit assistant with the Deloitte USI. I hail from Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, a very beautiful city with marvelous places for tourists. So that's it.
राइट. सो मयूर एक कॉमर्स बैकग्राउंड के स्टूडेंट रह चुके हैं और अभी जॉब भी कर रहे हैं. ये जॉब इन्होंने RBI एग्ज़ाम देने के बाद जस्ट सितंबर में ज्वाइन की है. मयूर, माई फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन नाउ, इनफैक्ट द सेकंड क्वेश्चन आफ्टर यू हैव टोल्ड योर बैकग्राउंड, आप एक ऐसी फैमिली से आते हैं जहाँ पे एजुकेशन इज़ लाइक वेरी कॉमन. सब पढ़े लिखे हैं, इनके ब्रदर्स ये हैं, इनके फादर एक अच्छी जॉब में हैं. सो एक फैमिली प्रेशर रहता है. और यू हैव पास्ड आउट फ्रॉम अ वेरी गुड कॉलेज ऑल्सो, इज़ अ पास्ड आउट फ्रॉम SRCC. तो फैमिली एक अच्छी एजुकेटेड होना और एक अच्छे कॉलेज से पास आउट होना, कहीं ना कहीं एक प्रेशर रहता है दैट आई वांट टू प्रूव माई सेल्फ, राइट. मतलब एक प्रेशर नहीं तो एक मतलब मोटिवेशन रहता है कि मुझे प्रूव करना है. सो डिड यू फील दैट प्रेशर और फीलिंग इनसाइड यू कि कुछ करना है लाइफ में बड़ा?
Yes, sir, definitely. Actually, my brother is a chartered accountant, as you mentioned. So he cleared this examination in the age of 22.
21, wow.
So likewise, there are my cousins who, in a very early age, they cleared the examination, they became chartered accountant. So obviously that factor was there. Okay, I'm taking this different line, and how would it go? Like nobody is from the government background, and I'm taking this route, no guidance, no family background. So how would it go? So after failing 2 UPSC attempts, it was like, okay, how would it go? मैं क्या करूँ इस पे? So that feeling used to come. And that pressure was always there कि okay, I'll have to do something better for my career. I need to prove myself. So definitely here I am.
जो मेरे कजन्स ने किए उनसे बड़ा करने का एम रखना है.
Definitely, because in our family, like they expect more from the younger siblings.
ये सच भी है. बिकॉज अगर आपकी फैमिली बहुत पढ़ी लिखी हो ना और आप कुछ ना बनो, मे बी दे विल नॉट टेल यू एनीथिंग, बट फ्रॉम इनसाइड यू विल फील कि यार मतलब मैं तो अभी कुछ किया ही नहीं है. सो यू नीड टू प्रूव योर सेल्फ. तो एक चीज़ और बहुत कॉमन है, मतलब जो अच्छे कॉलेजेस से कॉमर्स ग्रेजुएट्स हैं या जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं, दे ऑलवेज एम टू गो इनटू बिग 4 के बिग 4 में काम करना है, वही मेरा करियर है. तो आप भी एक अच्छे कॉलेज से थे. यू ऑलरेडी गॉट प्लेस्ड व्हाइल यू आर इन कॉलेज इन डेलॉयट. तो ये UPSC का कीड़ा कहाँ से आया? मतलब ना तो कोई फैमिली में है, ना ही बैकग्राउंड से रिलेटेड है कुछ कि मैंने पॉलिटिकल साइंस की है तो जी UPSC करूँगा. तो ये कीड़ा कहाँ से आया? मतलब हाउ डिड इट ऑल स्टार्ट कि मुझे UPSC देना है?
Okay, so sir, basically as I mentioned earlier, I hail from Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. So it is a city located on the banks of Narmada. So generally what we do in the weekends or whenever we are stressed, we go out, we just sit there and we feel relaxed and bit more calm. So whenever I go there, I see a lot of kids begging. So that used to electrify me that I'm getting so much good education, and what about these kids? Who will take care of them? So basically that thought process came from that banks of Narmada ki okay, these kids need to be uplifted anyhow. You can just give 10 rupees, 20 rupees, but that is not sustainable for them. Yes, because that's not the source of infinite income for them. So I took that inspiration ki okay, I need to do something for them. So that was my case. So people used to ask that you can do it by having a private job or maybe having a business. But what I used to tell them, how many kids I'll be able to uplift, maybe 20, maybe 1,000. But being a part of government machinery, I can just take care of millions of children, and my best practices could be replicated by other countries as well. So that was my thought process and the kida behind UPSC.
So such a nice thought, guys. एक लाइफ में शायद अच्छा मोटिव रखना बहुत ज़रूरी है, बिकॉज इफ योर इंटेंशंस आर गुड, आई थिंक आपके साथ भी अच्छा होगा और कभी ना कभी आपकी इंटेंशंस ज़रूर पूरी होंगी. सो व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर UPSC, बहुत मेहनत की आपने, यू वर टेलिंग मी, लेकिन आई मीन वी ऑल नो UPSC इज़ वेरी अनप्रडिक्टेबल एंड समटाइम्स आई से कि बहुत लेस रिवॉर्डिंग है ये एग्ज़ाम जस्ट ड्यू टू द शेयर कॉम्पिटिशन. और आपके 2 फेल्ड अटेम्प्ट्स हुए. We will not call it as a failure because ultimately I also teach this to students. It's just a failed attempt. Ultimately you are here sitting with me. तो वो failed attempts के बाद आपको काफ़ी दुख हुआ.
Yes, definitely.
और it might have come to your mind. आपने बोला कि मुझे लगा कि गवर्नमेंट जॉब मेरे लिए है ही नहीं, मैं तो प्राइवेट जॉब ही कर लेता हूँ. So what were the exact feelings you were going through after those failed attempts? And how did you cope up? How did you motivated yourself from inside कि नहीं, अभी ये नहीं तो कुछ और करना है, बट गवर्नमेंट जॉब लेनी है, विच इज़ लाइक हेयर?
Okay, so like obviously after the failed attempt, last year I slipped by 0.7 marks, and this year we have no clue what the scores are. So I was very much disheartened. I just tore some of my notes also, and I was like, okay, this is not my thing. I don't think I'll be able to pursue it. So my mother used to tell me, okay, just take your time. It's just a matter of time, and it's not failure, it's learning. So that inspiration. And I always remember that quote from APJ Abdul Kalam that dreams are not that you see while sleeping. Dreams are what doesn't let you sleep. That was a basic inspiration within me. But I thought, okay, I have this job in my hand. But definitely I was not completely satisfied. Okay, this is the place I will live the entire life. So obviously this job profile always fascinated me. So I always wanted to pursue it. So that's the case with me, and that is how I got inspired to just continue with this journey. And again, the economics and finance are my key areas. So I thought, okay, these are my areas which I can do well in. So definitely RBI was a great option. I heard it from my seniors, okay, there is an examination called RBI Grade B. You can take it up when if you feel like. So this is the time when I decided, okay, let's go with it.
इन्हीं के उन्हीं स्ट्रगल डेज की एक फ़ोटो दिखाते हैं आपको, स्क्रीन पे लाइए ज़रा इनका, वो जब सिलेक्शन हुआ था असिस्टेंट कमांडेंट एग्ज़ाम के लिए। तो ये मयूर आप सामने देख पा रहे हैं, तो ये आई थिंक वो शीट है जहाँ पे आपका रोल नंबर मेंशन्ड है, यू हैव क्लियर्ड द रिटन एग्ज़ाम।
यस यस।
चलो ये तो समझ आता है, हर लोग अपने सक्सेस का कुछ मतलब बाद में उसको एंजॉय करने के लिए कुछ स्क्रीनशॉट या फ़ोटोज़ लेके रखते हैं, आपने ये प्रिंट आउट लिया। बट ये जो आपने साथ में लिखा है कि नेक्स्ट टाइम सिविल सर्विसेज प्री क्लियर 2023, इसके बारे में ज़रा कुछ बताइए।
ओके, सो लाइक आई क्लियर्ड CAPF 2022 assistant commandant's examination. So after the results were declared and when I failed the 2022 attempt of UPSC, that became a motivational factor for me. So I never have that habit of flaunting anything or putting that on Instagram or Facebook. I just took a printout where my name was written and the roll number was mentioned. I highlighted that and stuck to with my wall so that I can just recall it. Okay, if you put efforts, so you will definitely sail through. So that was the reason behind sticking that thing on the wall.
मतलब वो आपको एक अंदर से it was making you realize that yes, you have the potential.
Exactly.
It is just maybe a step away.
Yes, definitely. Yes, that's the thing.
तो जब आपने RBI की तैयारी शुरू की, मतलब ठीक है, इट वाज लाइक अ मिक्स ऑफ सक्सेस एंड फेल्ड अटेम्प्ट्स फॉर यू, बट कहीं ना कहीं क्या RBI में ये दिमाग में नहीं आया यार कि UPSC नहीं हुआ था, ये भी कोई आसान एग्ज़ाम तो है नहीं, तो अगर RBI भी नहीं हुआ तो क्या ऐसा कुछ डर आया, तो उसको कैसे हैंडल किया आपने? आपने बताया था आप कुछ बुक्स भी पढ़ते थे मोटिवेशन के लिए, उसके बारे में बताइए कुछ।
So like obviously when you start preparing for some examination, you go with the statistics, like what is the success rate, how many candidates appear, how many vacancies are being rolled. So that was the reason, and I definitely felt that way, like you mentioned. Okay, if UPSC I couldn't make it, how would this examination would be a success for me? So definitely that was a time when I was very disheartened. So I went with the books like You Can, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, written by Robin Sharma, Bhagavad Gita. So these books helped me out, like in the way how to hold yourself in adverse situations.
And I think that is something, the biggest thing you can learn in life, right?
Exactly. So then I got to know, okay, this is just part of life. Failures are part of life, and it is not a failure. It is a learning for something better.
वैसे ये बहुत ज़रूरी है लाइफ में, मतलब मुझे लगता है अब कोई भी आप हर चीज़ को एक गेम की तरह देखिए, मतलब लाइफ इज़ अ गेम इन इटसेल्फ। आप कोई भी गेम खेल रहे हैं, एट द एंड आई फील दैट इट इज़ अबाउट योर माइंड सेट, 80% इज़ अबाउट हाउ यू आर एबल टू हैंडल इट साइकोलॉजिकली। ये चीज़ें बहुत ज़रूरी हैं, हमें बहुत कॉमन लगती हैं कि इससे क्या होगा, है ना, मेडिटेशन करने से क्या होगा, सेल्फ हेल्प बुक्स पढ़ने से क्या होगा, बट दीज आर दी थिंग्स विच एक्चुअली इम्प्रूव यू, but the improvement is very slow and you don't realize it, you don't get immediate results, and that's why people don't believe in them. ये करो, अभी आपके सामने selected student बोल रहा है, अब तो आप इसको देखो कि yes, it is helping him out, it can help you out also. मयूर, मेरा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन भी थोड़ा इसी से रिलेटेड है, जो हमारे फियर्स होते हैं या ऑब्जेक्शंस होते हैं, तो बहुत बार मैंने देखा है कि स्टूडेंट्स अपने फेलियर से उतना दे आर नॉट डिसअपॉइंटेड एंड दे आर मोर डिसअपॉइंटेड बाय द सक्सेस ऑफ अदर्स, बिकॉज हमारे जो पीयर्स हैं, अभी आप नर्सरी से लेके किसी के साथ 10th तक पढ़ रहे हैं, आफ्टर दैट योर पाथ्स विल गेट डाइवर्सिफाइड, कोई इधर चला जाएगा कोई उधर। तो आपके भी बहुत सारे दोस्त ग्रेजुएशन के बाद दे स्टार्टेड वर्किंग
Yes.
अच्छी अच्छी कंपनी से, यू वेंट इनटू पोस्ट ग्रेड, स्टार्टेड प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर यूपीएससी। ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम मेनी ऑफ योर फ्रेंड्स वुड हैव बीन लाइक पैकेजेस ऑफ आई डोंट नो 20 लाख 25 लाख आजकल कॉमन चीज़ है। तो उस टाइम पे डिड यू एवर रियलाइज और ऐसा फीलिंग आया कि यार मतलब मैं तो बहुत पीछे रह गया हूँ, हाउ विल आई कैच अप, और अगर मेरा ये एग्ज़ाम भी नहीं निकला तो मतलब गेम फिनिश, मैं बहुत पीछे रह, तो ऐसी फीलिंग आती थी। तो what was your reaction? How did you again used to help yourself?
Okay, so basically, you are very right. Like few of my friends, they got decent jobs after graduation, and some after MBA and stuff. So I was still preparing for UPSC, and our mentors while UPSC preparation, they used to tell us, "Ki okay, this is gonna happen. Like others would grow, would start earning, and you will start feeling ki, okay, what I'm doing, I'm just reading books and I cannot do anything, I cannot earn a single penny." So that was definitely a source of disappointment for me. But how I held myself was I used to talk to myself in front of mirror, and I used to say ki, okay, if you're dreaming big, the cost would be big, but the profit would be disproportionate. So that was the culture I used to follow. I used to reaffirm myself, okay, if you dig a little deeper, if you give more time, if you put that cost, compromise on few things, adjust on few areas, definitely will one day will sail through and definitely will be above everybody.
ये एक बहुत सही चीज़ है। मतलब जब आप कोई बड़ा काम करते हैं, इट विल टेक टाइम बिकॉज यू आर डूइंग समथिंग बिग, लेकिन जब वो बड़ा काम होता है ना तो उसकी गूंज ना बहुत दूर दूर तक सुनाई देती है। एंड जो ये फीलिंग थी इनकी, अगेन वो आई डोंट नो, एज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग वी गेट दैट फीलिंग कि मेरे दोस्त यहाँ पहुँच गए हैं, मैं कहाँ हूँ। एंड टू सम एक्सटेंट इट इज़ गुड, राइट, बिकॉज यू वांट टू बिकम समथिंग इन लाइफ, सो यू शुड गेट दैट फीलिंग। बट उसको कभी नेगेटिव इतना मत होने दो दैट इट ओवर पास यू एंड विल डिस्ट्रैक्ट यू ऑल द टाइम। थोड़ा बहुत लगेगा वो अच्छा है, उससे आप मोटिवेट होंगे, मेहनत करेंगे, बट एक कंट्रोल्ड सिचुएशन में रहना चाहिए सब। एंड इससे आप लर्निंग लीजिए कि हर बंदे का ना अलग पाथ है। डोंट कंपेयर योर सेल्फ विद अदर्स, इट्स नॉट अ जीरो सम गेम, ठीक है। अगर वो लाइफ में आगे पहुंच गए इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि ये नहीं पहुंच सकते। अगर आज उनके पास कार है, घर है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हमारे पास कभी नहीं होगा। आवर टाइम विल ऑल्सो कम। Rather use that feeling which you are, the emotions you're getting by comparing yourself with others in a positive sense and do more hard work. अभी RBI Grade B प्रिपरेशन की बात करते हैं। मतलब UPSC की प्रेप की, फिर Big 4 में सिलेक्शन हो गया कॉलेज में, आप जॉब ज्वाइन कर सकते थे आराम से जाकर। Big 4 इज़ अ ब्रांड इन इटसेल्फ, लोगों को भी लगता है कि आपने कुछ अचीव कर लिया है। तो ये RBI कहाँ, मतलब बीच में कैसे आ गया और कैसे ये जर्नी शुरू हुई?
Okay, so in 2020, I was little more fascinated about economics because that time lockdown was happening, monetary policy was like accommodative monetary policy was happening, expansionary things were happening, Atmanirbhar Bharat package came. So that time it started fascinating me, okay, how this mechanism works, why literally government is doing this and RBI is taking these policies. So I dig more deeper, and then I came with some blogs. I wrote a blog on excise duty and the mounting oil prices. I wrote a blog on monetary policy amidst the pandemic. So I was a little bit connected with economics. I felt connected with economics. So RBI Grade B, one of my seniors told me in the college, okay, this is related to economics field, and people from the economics background, they generally pursue this examination. So I could recall, okay, this is again a good option. But that time I was
उस टाइम तो लाइक UPSC was on the, ये नहीं अभी UPSC करना है,
exactly.
बट लेटर आपको वो चीज़ हेल्प कर गई।
Yes, exactly. After failure, then I decided, okay, let's pursue my interest. Let's move away from history and geography and let's dive deeper into finance and economics.
तो आपने बोला कि आपने RBI Grade B नोटिफिकेशन आने के बाद ही एक स्टडी शुरू की only for RBI, though you had previous UPSC knowledge which helped you, और आपने बोला कि आप 14-15 घंटे पढ़ते थे उन 3 मंथ्स में. हाउ डिड यू मैनेज दैट? मतलब 14-15 घंटे पढ़ना इज़ अ बिग थिंग. तो डिस्ट्रैक्शंस नहीं होती थी, मतलब साइकोलॉजिकल और दूसरी भी, कि दोस्त आ गया, कभी कोई और आ गया, या कोई पार्टी आ गई, कज़न की वेडिंग आ गई, तो 15 घंटे 3 months, आई मीन दैट्स a huge thing. How did you manage it?
So, like, sitting for 15 hours was not a very big task for me, because obviously I was a UPSC aspirant, so I had that much capability of sitting that many hours. But specifically for this examination, I would say what I used to do was I used to divide my entire day into 3 phases, like the active time, the inactive time, and again the active time.
So you had a proper schedule towards your day के 15 घंटे मुझे blocks में divide करने हैं. और बताइए कितने blocks होते थे आपके routine में?
So basically there were 4 blocks, but I used to flow this into 3: active, inactive, and active. So my morning routine was really very fine, and I used to have a good amount of energy and enthusiasm in the morning. So I used to start with newspaper and reading about general awareness topics, and dig deeper into some terminologies which popped in the newspaper. So that is how I took the first phase, the active part, till 12 or 1 p.m.
8 to 12.
Yeah.
Active phase जिसमें आप न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते थे और न्यूज़पेपर ही पढ़ते थे.
Newspaper and general awareness.
जनरल अवेयरनेस मतलब करंट अफेयर्स पे फोकस था.
Exactly.
ठीक है, उसके बाद
Then the inactive zone, in which like I don't feel like reading theory, facts and
थक गए हैं.
yeah, mugging up things can't happen in that inactive time. So in that time, I used to take up logical reasoning and quant. I used to check what concepts I know. I used to practice some questions of those concepts. For example, you have time, speed, and distance. I was good at it. So I used to practice some more questions which were relevant to RBI Grade B preparation. Then I used to put up some questions which I didn't had any idea. Like, for example, there are input-output questions. We input this into the machine, and the machine gives this output. So that is more specific to RBI and not the other examinations.
Exactly.
CSAT,
Exactly.
in UPSC. So I used to take up those concepts. I used to understand, okay, how these questions are framed and how these needs to be
सॉल्व.
solved. So I used to learn those concepts and practice them. So
तो ये आपका 1 से 5.
yes,
ठीक है. एंड देन आफ्टर दैट दिस वाज लिटिल बिट ऑफ इनएक्टिव फेज.
Yes.
एक्टिव मॉर्निंग, इनएक्टिव आफ्टरनून, एंड देन अगेन एक्टिव.
yes.
सो थर्ड फेज में आप क्या करते थे?
So for the first 15 days when I started preparing for this examination, so I used to take up those theory part which I had not prepared and I didn't have background on for UPSC. So I used to take up those topics. I used to Google it or refer to some other resource or YouTube, and I used to prepare notes for those topics, and that was my active time. So whatever I used to read, that used to go inside my brain.
जैसे मैनेजमेंट हो गया कुछ ऐसे टॉपिक्स. आई थिंक
Yes.
ESI तो you would have read already.
Yeah, ESI, most of the topics I have already read, but there are some areas such as economic history of India and industrial policies. Well, I had read this, but it was a sort of overview for UPSC. So I dug a little bit deeper into these topics and prepared some notes out of it.
सो गाइस, मतलब देखिए, आप इनका रूटीन तो मत फॉलो कीजिएगा. मतलब ही हैड कस्टमाइज्ड इट अकॉर्डिंग टू हिज नीड्स. बट एक लर्निंग है कि आपके दिन में आपके कुछ ऐसे फेजेस होंगे, एक्टिव, इनएक्टिव, मतलब एनर्जेटिक या सोने वाला. तो आप उसको अच्छे से कंसिडर कीजिए कि किस फेज में व्हाट सूट्स मी. ठीक है, तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. हम कई बार ना चीज़ों को सही से प्रायोरिटाइज नहीं करते हैं. सुबह उठ के क्वांट रीजनिंग करने लग गए, फिर जब नींद आ रही है वी स्टार्ट रीडिंग करंट अफेयर्स, और फिर हम आउटपुट ज़ीरो. बहुत ज़रूरी है. दैट एक्चुअली इंक्रीजेज योर एफिशिएंसी बाय 200%. ठीक है, तो आप ये कीजिए. चलिए मयूर, अभी हमें एक चीज़ और देखते हैं गाइज. अभी आप भी देखिए, इनकी स्टडी डेस्क की फ़ोटो लाइए ज़रा. तो आप देख सकते हैं बहुत ही ऑर्गेनाइज सा स्टडी डेस्क लग रहा है. बिल्कुल सब नीट एंड क्लीन, हर चीज़ जैसे अपनी जगह पर पड़ी है. और मयूर, मुझे ये बताइए कि ये जो आपने ये स्टिकी नोट्स लगा रखे हैं, बहुत सारे मैं देख रहा हूँ. सो यू सीम टू बी वेरी ऑर्गेनाइज गाय. तो ये स्टिकी नोट्स क्या हैं और ये आपकी स्टडीज़ में कैसे हेल्प करते थे?
Okay, so the notes that you can see around the places and the continent that are specific to location-related questions in UPSC.
जो मैप पे है.
Yes, and the larger notes are some of the key areas which I used to forget again and again. For example, if you can see, there is a note of money supply that M1, M2, M3, M4. I used to forget it again and again. I wrote that on a sticky note and stick it on my map, so I used to read it again and again just to have the memory. So that was the basic idea behind sticking those notes. And also I used to prepare some weekly schedules like you can see on the screen. So on those weekly schedules I used to write, okay, this day I'll need to do this, do that. So sometimes I used to achieve, sometimes I didn't used to achieve. So basically I used to give some buffer time in the weekend. So I used to cover up those leftover things in the weekend and the schedule was done.
तो कभी अगर पीछे रह जाए शेड्यूल के, ऐसा नहीं लगता, तो फ्रस्ट्रेशन नहीं होती थी कि यार नहीं हो रहा है?
Yeah, definitely I couldn't see that day. So I definitely try, but it's human tendency to like you cannot be 100% organized. So you need to give some room to yourself कि okay, I wasn't able to do this. Okay, I'll just keep.
तो प्लानिंग गाइस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अपना एक प्लान बनाओ, चिपकाओ और बी अकाउंटेबल टू दैट. और अभी मयूर की कुछ इंसिडेंट्स हैं जो मैं आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूँगा मयूर के थ्रू. मयूर ने मुझे बताया कि जब भी उन्होंने एग्ज़ाम दिया, मतलब अलग अलग फेज़ में, फेज़ 1 दिया, फेज़ 2 दिया, इंटरव्यू दिया, कुछ अलग हुआ उनके साथ, मतलब विच वॉज नॉट नॉर्मल. तो और वो तीनों डेज पे होना, मतलब एक आप सोच लीजिए, वॉज आई डोंट नो वॉज इट अ ब्लेसिंग इन डिसगाइज और वॉज इट समथिंग एल्स, बट उन्होंने वो काफ़ी चैलेंजेस फेस किए. उसके बारे में बताइए मयूर, तीनों दिन क्या क्या हुआ आपके साथ?
Okay, so phase 1 was, as everybody knows, like it was a monsoon season, so I was totally wet. Basically, my shirt from the backside was wet and I was a little bit shivering. So that time I felt like, okay, how would I be able to handle this situation? How would I sit for 2 hours and give my 100% in the examination? So that was a challenge that I faced, but definitely when you have that determination, so you sail through. Then in phase 2, what happened was the screen brightness was very high. I cannot see for a long period of time in that level of brightness. And when I asked for adjustment, so they said after the start of examination, it cannot be like adjusted. So basically I had to take paracetamol after the first paper. Yeah, so I was a bit skeptic. Maybe I'll fall asleep in the next paper. But thankfully I ate a lot of chocolates and that is how I removed that tension and the stress situation which I was going through. And finally it sailed through. The most interesting part that happened was the interview phase. So basically what happened, I forgot to prepare I didn't find time to prepare for the favorite subject. So I was continuously getting that intuition, okay, what if they ask for the favorite subject, what would I say? If I say financial management that I used to do in the interviews, but I haven't prepared for it. So I thought, okay, my interview is scheduled for 4:30. I have plenty of time. I took my laptop there, so I started just typing everything, whatever I could recall about financial management. I read NPV, IRR, everything. And I entered the interview room. They didn't ask anything, introduce yourself or anything like that. They just asked, what is your favorite subject?
What a coincidence. कई बार ऐसा होता है, मतलब इफ़ यू रियली वर्क हार्ड ना और आपको अपना गोल सही दिख रहा हो तो इंट्यूशन आ जाती है कि पेपर में क्या आने वाला है, इंटरव्यू में क्या पूछने वाले हैं. तो आई थिंक वो एक हार्ड वर्क से ही आता है, या स्मार्ट वर्क भी आप हार्ड वर्क से ही सीखते हैं. सो इनके जो चैलेंजेस थे बड़े यूनिक थे. बहुत सारे लोग बारिश में जाएंगे नहीं या बारिश में गीले हो जाएंगे तो वहाँ जाके दे वुड बी लाइक अब तो नहीं होगा, लेट मी जस्ट अटेम्प्ट इट, बट ही फॉट इट आउट, राइट. मतलब यही एक स्पिरिट चाहिए, दैट ऑलवेज गिव योर बेस्ट, नथिंग एल्स मैटर्स, आई वुड से. अब इनसे थोड़ी स्ट्रैटेजी की बात करते हैं, ठीक है, इन डिटेल फेज़ 1 फेज़ 2 की. फेज़ 1 में आपकी एक्यूलीज हील क्या थी? आपने मुझे बताया कि कुछ MCQ से आपकी बचपन से प्रॉब्लम है, उसके बारे में बताइए.
Okay, so basically Mayur Agrawal and MCQs are very opposite poles. So what used to happen when I was in 11th and 12th class, I took maths commerce. So in maths, the coaching institute I was going in, they used to give a mix of MCQs and the descriptive questions. So I always used to like
do descriptive,
and I used to just mess it up the MCQ thing. So that was fear and it was accumulating day by day. And when I landed up with the UPSC thing, it completely
क्योंकि प्री क्लियर नहीं हो रहा था.
clear nahi hua. So that was the reason, like I couldn't clear the prelims. So that was the fear, and that fear popped in when I was preparing for RBI, because the first phase there's a lot of questions which needs to be completed in 120 minutes. So that was definitely a challenge for me.
कमर्स स्टूडेंट्स के लिए एक और बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होता है क्वांट रीजनिंग को लेकर. एंड यू गाइज आर नॉट यूज्ड टू कैलकुलेटर्स बिकॉज कमर्स वालों को कैलकुलेटर दिया जाता है. बट आपके काफ़ी अच्छे मार्क्स है. इफ़ आई कैन सी ऑन माई शीट, मैंने कुछ मार्क्स लिखे हैं, कुछ क्वेश्चंस भी लिखे हैं स्ट्रैटेजी से रिलेटेड. यू हैव स्कोर्ड 6.75 इन क्वांट और रीजनिंग में आपके 16 मार्क्स है. सो दैट्स अ प्रीटी गुड स्कोर आई थिंक, स्पेशली फॉर अ स्टूडेंट जिसने कमर्स पढ़ी है और ज़्यादा क्वांट रीजनिंग वाले बैंकिंग एग्जाम्स नहीं दिए हैं. So what was your strategy? मतलब बिल्कुल out of nowhere you came, you prepared in 3 months and you scored pretty decent marks. Strategy बताइए.
Okay, so first of all, I was a little disappointed because I planned for 13 questions in quant, and my mock test suggested that okay, 13 is a good limit for you. So when I said in the examination, there were long description line-based questions. I was in a puzzle situation, how to counter this situation. So I attempted only 8 questions. And out of those 8 questions, I was very much skeptical whether I will be able to clear this phase or not. Because if 3 questions I answer it incorrectly, and I'll be out from the race. So when the result came in, I got to know, okay, only 1 question I marked incorrectly and I sailed through the phase. So the basic strategy behind that was practicing the areas which you are already clear of, and the areas you determine ki, okay, this area takes less time, and if you prepare for it, if you brush up your concepts, you will sail through. So just go with these topics. Just don't go behind every other topic, because that's not going to help. If you want to become a topper in the phase 1, then definitely you're on a wrong race, because it's not needed. The marks are not aggregated after all. So just go with the concepts you already know. Okay, this is something that I can do, and just leave the concepts which you think are not meant for you.
So basically you went with reverse engineering and some selective topics.
Yes.
और जो नहीं आता था उसको थोड़ा theoretically पढ़ा और then you practiced. That was your strategy.
Yes.
और टेस्ट काफ़ी दिए होंगे आपने.
Yes. I gave around 7 to 8 mock tests with timer. And rest I used to practice 30 questions on a daily basis when I was specifically preparing for phase.
So जब आप वो 30 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करते थे, did you used to put any time limit then कि वो एक ओपन टाइम में करते थे कि ये 30 के 30 सॉल्व करने हैं चाहे मुझे 2 घंटे लगे?
No, I definitely used to keep a timer, because you'll have to make that culture. If you make that habit, so that will definitely prove out to be a success point in phase 1 when you are actually sitting in the examination. So I used to put the timer, okay, if I'm able to complete, that's fine. If not, I'll just prepare for those topics.
और आप जो भी 30 क्वेश्चंस का टेस्ट देते थे या मॉक टेस्ट देते थे, उसका आउटपुट नंबर तो आ गए कि मेरे इतने नंबर आ गए. आफ्टर दैट व्हाट, हाउ डिड यू यूज टू एनालाइज इट? मतलब व्हाट वर योर टेकअवेज आफ्टर एवरी मॉक टेस्ट?
Okay, so the takeaways after every mock test was I used to bifurcate. Okay, I attempted these many questions, I answered these correctly, and I answered this incorrectly. And among those incorrect questions, I used to find out, okay, I should have answered this correctly. So I used to go through the solutions and find out, okay, I did this mistake, and I used to improve upon those mistakes so that I don't commit them again. So that was the basic culture after mock interviews which I followed.
So where's quant reasoning का ना ज़्यादा हवा मत बनाओ अपने मन में. आई नो इट्स टफ, इट्स नॉट ईजी. ठीक है, यहाँ बैठ कर कहना बहुत आसान है कि कर लोगे, हो जाएगा. यू नीड टू पुट अ लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट, बट इट इज़ नॉट समथिंग विच इज़ नेक्स्ट टू इम्पॉसिबल. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. मैं सीरियसली बता रहा हूँ, अगर कॉमर्स ग्रेजुएट की एक वीकनेस हो सकती है ना, किसी यूपीएससी वाले की एक वीकनेस हो सकती है ना, तो वो क्वांट रीजनिंग होगी. इफ़ ही कुड हैव मैनेज्ड इट, एनीबॉडी कैन. मतलब ये आपको बिलीफ रखना पड़ेगा, मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. इनको 3 महीने लगे, शायद आपको 4-5 लगाने पड़े, बट इट इज़ एनी डे डूएबल अगर आप जल्दी स्टार्ट करेंगे. अब करंट अफेयर्स की बात करते हैं. वो भी एक बहुत मतलब इट्स लाइक एक्चुअलीज हील्स फॉर 99% ऑफ दी स्टूडेंट्स. वास्ट हैं, फैक्चुअल हैं. सबसे पहले आपका सोर्स क्या था करंट अफेयर्स के लिए?
Okay, so definitely general awareness is a very crucial part, and you have 80 questions surrounding general awareness in phase 1. So what I learned from the past year trend was there is a recency bias in RBI Grade B examination. They are asking a lot of questions from the last 3 months.
3 months.
Examination. So I did a focused study upon these 3 months. I used to prepare the facts and figures from PIB with myself. I did that, and I prepared economic survey. I prepared union budget. I had separate notes for them in my Evernote, which is a tool for note making. So I used that application, and I did extended preparation for 2 more months. I went through some more resources. I used the marathon sessions of current affairs conducted by EduTap. So those were really helpful sessions for me. So I would say if you're preparing for current affairs, just be mindful, just skim out newspaper as per the need of the examination. Just don't go and make note of every other thing in the newspaper. That is of no use, because if you cannot revise it, definitely your entire effort will go in vain.
Exactly. That is what I also tell all the students, that if your target is to do say 100%, maybe do 80% but revise it twice.
Exactly.
That is a more practical strategy. और इन्होंने एक बात बहुत अच्छी बोली कि 3 months में जो recency bias है वो आपको दिखेगा. So उसमें अपना पूरा एफर्ट झोंक दो. उसके बाद just to cover your risk, go for some extended months. उसमें कुछ कर लो अगर सारा नहीं है. That's enough. Many of your mentors will tell you 1 साल पढ़ो, 10 महीने पढ़ो. That is practically not possible. इतना आप retain नहीं कर पाएंगे और उससे कुछ नहीं होगा. बस आपका मतलब सिलेक्शन रुकेगा ही, होगा तो नहीं पक्का. तो प्लीज़ ये करंट अफेयर्स में मंथ्स वाला पॉइंट आप ज़रूर नोट करें. ये काफ़ी है. मैं कितनी बार बोल चुका हूँ, टीम कितनी बार बोल चुकी है, आज मयूर बता रहे हैं, इनकी बात तो आप सुनिए. नेक्स्ट जो मेरा क्वेश्चन है मयूर, के रिवीजन कैसे मैनेज करते थे. अभी हमने रिवीजन की बात की, मतलब 5 महीने के करंट अफेयर्स भी अगर आप पढ़ने लगो, इतनी सारी रिपोर्ट्स हैं, इतनी सारी स्कीम्स हैं, डेटा बहुत सारा है. तो डिड यू हैव एनी स्पेसिफिक डेज के या टाइम इन अ डे कि मैं इस दिन रिवीजन करूंगा, इस टाइम पे रिवीजन करूंगा?
Okay, so I definitely had one specific time in my day which was reserved for revision purposes. So I found out the most active time, which is the evening time for me, that is surrounding 5 to 8. So I took this time for revision of facts and figures from the notes which I prepared in Evernote. So I took this time and I used to revise them mostly on a daily basis, because if I'm not able to revise it, definitely they are of no use. So those 3 months current affairs were very critical, and I used to prepare them on a daily basis in the evening time. So you guys can definitely determine what is the most active time in the entire day. So you can choose that time and revise on a daily basis or on alternate.
तो कितनी बार रिवाइज किया मतलब आपने एक कंटेंट?
I revised it for approximately 2 to 3 times as far I remember.
You got the answer, guys. How much important is the revision actually? नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन टाइम मैनेजमेंट पे है. फेज 1 में टाइम क्रंच काफ़ी रहता है, बिकॉज हर सेक्शन को देयर इज अ सेक्शनल टाइमिंग और क्वेश्चंस बहुत ज़्यादा है, टफ है, लेंदी है, चाहे जीए हो, क्वांट हो, रीजनिंग हो. सो व्हाट वाज योर ओवरऑल स्ट्रैटेजी कि ये चीज़ तो करनी है सो एज टू नो हैव द मैक्सिमम पॉसिबल टाइम फॉर अटेम्प्टिंग द क्वेश्चंस?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to talk about the general awareness section. So the better you prepare, the better you perform in the general awareness section, because time is not at all enough to go through all the 80 questions. So I've prepared in a manner that I used to see one word in the question and I used to mark the correct answer, and that I could see in my result also. That strategy really helped me out. If they are talking about some award and I have heard about it or I have read about it and revised it thoroughly, so I used to take only 10 seconds in answering that question. That is how it made my aggregate. If I talk about quant, you need to definitely understand that you cannot attempt all the questions. So you need to mark some key areas in which you are comfortable, and you need to find questions in the examination and just solve them out. And don't meander around those questions which you are unsure about.
Just skip them in the first iteration.
Exactly. That is how you save time and you get through the questions which you really know. And then for logical reasoning, I would say I had some key areas defined. I would command over statement conclusion questions, assertion questions, syllogistic reasoning, So I attempted these questions and it made a pretty much good number wise. So if you go with puzzles in the first iteration, you will be stuck. If you get stuck at somewhere, you're out of the list. So don't go with the building question in the first instance if you're not good at it.
कई बार लालच आ जाता है कि 5 नंबर आ जाएंगे और पहले 15 मिनट में पजल ना सॉल्व हो तो वो प्रेशर बहुत आ जाता है उसके बाद, एंड देन यू आर नॉट एबल टू हैंडल इट.
So you need anyhow you need to consider that fact that you cannot attempt all the questions and you have to skim through those questions which you know you can perform in a better manner.
So that's about phase 1. I think you have got a lot of guidance from somebody जिसने एक बहुत कम टाइम में phase 1 क्रैक किया. अभी phase 2 की तरफ बढ़ते हैं. phase 2 में मयंक का स्कोर इज जस्ट अराउंड द कट ऑफ, मतलब 2-2.5 नंबर हैं उनके कट ऑफ से ज़्यादा. तो उनकी स्ट्रैटेजी के बारे में बात करेंगे क्योंकि इन्होंने कम टाइम में तैयारी की है. दो उनका काफ़ी कुछ प्रिपेयर्ड था, बट एटलीस्ट जो भी लोग इस बैकग्राउंड से हैं दे कैन फॉलो द सेम स्ट्रैटेजी. मयंक फेज़ 2 में सबसे पहले, मतलब हमें होता है ना यार कि जब मैं देखता हूँ कि यार ये 3 पेपर है, यार इसमें तो नंबर लाने ही लाने हैं, ये तो स्कोरिंग लग रहा है. ऐसा कौन से पेपर या पेपर्स थे जो आपको लगा कि दिस इज माय टॉप प्रायोरिटी?
So my top priority was finance and management.
Finance and management.
And obviously I saw your video in the YouTube that okay, if you prepare well for finance and management, then definitely you can score 70 plus. So I scored 74.75 finance and management. Literally the efforts were worth it. So for management, I had the entire notes prepared because I have commerce and accountancy option in my UPSC. So management notes were already prepared, and some of the parts I prepared it like through Googling and something of that sort. So that's how I like prepared.
You told me कि आपने finance और management में, especially in finance, you did some limited topics.
Yes.
So that I can understand. Due to paucity of time, you did some limited topics, but that strategy actually made you crack the exam. So on what basis you decide कि यार ये topic मैं कर लेता हूँ, ये छोड़ देता हूँ? Because a new aspirant is not able to decide on this, and they are always confused.
Okay, so basically what I did, I didn't decide, okay, I will read these topics haphazardly. I did a very thorough past year analysis on what areas RBI is touching on a continuous basis year over year. So I marked those in my syllabus, as you can see in the screenshots. So I prepared those topics only. And I didn't found questions on basic financial derivatives and topics like that, which are very factual in nature and are hardly asked by RBI because definitely this is a general examination. They cannot deep dive into like a very technical sort of topics. So with that past year trend, I got to know okay, these topics are relevant to me and I can just go with it because I really have no time to prepare.
So basically if I just want to simplify you want to say कि जो past year papers या syllabus को analyze करके आप जो strategy बनाएंगे बहुत important है.
Yes.
उसी से वो निकलेगा. रैंडमली किसी के कहने पर मत जाइए, खुद ही एनालाइज करके बनाइए.
That is what I recommend.
और मैनेजमेंट में क्या कोई चैलेंज आया? बिकॉज बहुत सारे लोगों को लगता है कि यार मैनेजमेंट ना बहुत थ्योरेटिकल है, स्कोरिंग है बट बहुत थ्योरेटिकल है, थ्योरीज में सिमिलरिटीज हैं. तो वहाँ कोई ऐसा चैलेंज आया कि यार बोरिंग सा हो रहा है और बार बार वही थ्योरी पढ़ते रहो?
Okay, so basically there is a difference. What you learn as a concept in a theory and what question is asked, it is way different. How to use that knowledge in the examination is very difficult. So whenever you are studying these concepts, you need to answer the why aspect of that question, that why is this concept, why you are reading this. So once you answer it, once you read the background, then you should go forward and practice the answer, practice the questions. And obviously I would recommend that you should go through the examples, just Google it. For every other topic, you will find some of the other example. I use Tesla, Elon Musk, whatever I could use, Mukesh Ambani to Tata's. I used everything on my examination day. Because
in your descriptive answers?
Yes, descriptive answers, because I was already prepared for it. I tested a lot of examples and I used to practice them again and again. I also use some data and figures in my FM paper only, which people generally use in ESI. They think FM is only theoretical, let's go with it that way. So that was not the case with me. I scored 36 in descriptive because of those examples and the clarity in mind. Okay, this concept needs to be put.
एक और स्क्रीनशॉट दिखाते हैं क्योंकि इन्होंने अभी डेटा की बात की है. तो इनका एक स्क्रीनशॉट लाइए जहाँ पे बहुत सारा डेटा है. आप देखेंगे ये कलरफुल पेजेस पे ऑरेंज ग्रीन इन्होंने काफ़ी डेटा लिख रखा है. तो इसको ज़रा हम जूम कर सकते हैं क्या? तो मैं देख सकता हूँ कि आपने काफ़ी कुछ लिखा है हेल्थ केयर के ऊपर, चिल्ड्रन के ऊपर कुछ आपने आई थिंक लिखा है, हेल्थ केयर के ऊपर लिखा है, चाइल्ड मैरिजेस के ऊपर लिखा है. तो ये नोट्स बनाना वुड नॉट हैव बीन ईजी. तो आप कैसे बनाते थे? जब भी कुछ पढ़ते थे साथ साथ लिखते रहते थे? क्या अप्रोच थी आपकी?
Okay, so these pages were not part of the wall the entire time. These were part of my drawer when in preparation phase. So I used to skim data from newspaper. I used to jot down that in these pages. Whenever I used to read a new report from some independent resource or PIB or something like that, I used to just put that on the note. And obviously, you need to determine what is relevant for the examination and what is not relevant for the examination.
Again, depending upon the syllabus.
Exactly. Otherwise, you'll just end up noting everything. So this was for UPSC. Like you can see, there are two rows. So one row was for GS2 and other was for GS3. So when I was preparing for RBI Grade B, I skimmed out some data from it. And definitely there is one notable thing that I used to update those data and figures. Like if that data corresponds to 2022 and the new report has arrived, so I would definitely go and change the ranks and whatever figures are what.
बहुत ज़रूरी है वो तो.
Yeah, exactly. So then I decided, okay, like for poverty elevation, I can use MPI report, I can use Niti Aayog's report. So I used to skim that data and I used to put in the Evernote, and I took the printout of those facts and figures and just read it before the examination also.
बहुत स्मार्ट स्ट्रैटेजी है. काफ़ी लोग हमें पूछते हैं when I am in conversation that sir, how do I cram so much data for descriptive? My answer is that एग्जामिनर आपको ये नहीं बोल रहा कि सारा डेटा बताओ. एग्जामिनर को सिर्फ आपको इतना दिखाना है कि मुझे डेटा पता है, मुझे एग्जाम्पल्स पता है. सो you just write 5-10 points in each of these topics which are in your syllabus, what Mayur has done, and then try to use those points by setting a context in your answer. That's it. आपको ये 10 पॉइंट पता है, ये आपको पता है. एग्जामिनर वो 10 पॉइंट पढ़ेगा, उसको लगेगा कि आपको सब कुछ पता है. That is the trick you can use, right? Because you cannot remember all the data while writing your descriptive exam. तो आप इसको ज़रूर implement कीजिए. This is very, very important. I'm not sure whether Mayur borrowed it from my videos because it is not something patent, but I am a strong proponent of this. ये आपको ज़रूर करना चाहिए. So Mayur, ये हमारी descriptive की भी बात हो गई है. Now let's move on to ESI. मतलब ESI में current affairs का बहुत importance है. तो उसके लिए आपने क्या किया? मतलब आपने बताया कि PIB भी आपने काफ़ी पढ़ा, न्यूज़पेपर तो आपने फेज़ 1 के लिए पढ़ा ही था. तो फेज़ 2 ESI करंट अफेयर्स के लिए व्हाट ऑल डिड यू रीड, और पेपर में क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट रहता है?
Okay, so basically, first of all, you need to go with the basic framework around ESI. If something is mentioned like change in industrial policy, so instead of going with the current affairs, you should know the basics and the background first. Just prepare the background and then go with the current affairs. So you go with the newspaper, mark the editorials and copy paste that in your Evernote. And the second thing I used was Vision IAS magazine, which I used to prepare for UPSC. So I used to skim out those topics which were relevant for the RBI examination. You should be very thorough with the syllabus. And okay, this is relevant for the examination, so I borrowed it. A very fine example I would like to quote here was report on currency and finance. So that report, I read an overview of that report from that Vision IAS magazine, and I made a handwritten note of that. And I don't know how.
पेपर में आ गया.
The exact same question. I remember all the 3 figures, the GDP figure and everything, and that is how it helped me out.
Sometimes मेहनत के साथ जब आप करते हो ना, मेहनत करते हो, लक भी आपको मिल जाता है. सो मेहनत करो, ठीक है, सब कुछ मिल जाएगा. लेट्स मूव ऑन टू डिस्क्रिप्टिव इंग्लिश नाउ. सो आई एम श्योर कि आपकी बेसिक ग्रामर तो अच्छी ही है, बट कहीं ना कहीं इंग्लिश में यू ऑल्सो नीड गुड कॉन्टेंट. And there are a lot of challenges overall in descriptive, whether that is descriptive English or FM or ESI descriptive with respect to typing speed. तो पहले typing speed की बात करते हैं, फिर descriptive English पे आऊँगा. तो typing speed, even you are a UPSC aspirant, but उसमें बिल्कुल अलग चीज़ है.
Exactly.
उसमें orientation है pen and paper की, और यहाँ पे आ जाती है typing speed की बात. So वो आपको पता होगा पहले कि ये challenge है.
Yes.
तो वो कैसे manage किया आपने?
Okay, so here comes the fun. Like people, they used to do? They used to take up audio and type it. They used to take the dictation, but I took altogether a different approach. What I did, I connected my WhatsApp as WhatsApp web, and I used to chat with people in my laptop. So that's how it increased my speed of typing, and it really helped me out while
तो
preparing. And
जो आपका फन टाइम था जिसमें आप चैट करते थे उसमें भी इन योर माइंड सबकॉन्शियसली आप अपनी टाइपिंग स्पीड इंप्रूव कर रहे थे.
exactly.
दैट्स अ वेरी स्मार्ट स्ट्रैटेजी गाइज कि टाइपिंग स्पीड अलग क्यों करनी है, चैट करो, आपका मतलब स्ट्रेस बस्टर भी हो गया और आपकी टाइपिंग स्पीड भी बढ़ गई. वाह भाई वाह, बहुत अच्छा. और वैसे डिस्क्रिप्टिव इंग्लिश या डिस्क्रिप्टिव के लिए क्या प्रैक्टिस किया आपने और कैसे?
So again for essay, I like analyze the past year trend, and I determined there is a trend in essay also. So I forecasted 7-8 topics. I prepared the content for all the topics, especially climate change, and with the God's grace, we got the
Climate change in the exam.
Question in the examination. So that is how it helps. Your forecasting is a very crucial aspect in the essay. So you just don't make the content, you make it in the practice also. So you just try 1, 2 or 3 essays, whatever you can practice, whatever time you can manage, you just go through it, and definitely take a review from someone who knows how to write essays and something like that. So that is very crucial. You need to practice. If you don't practice, it is not going to help you out. Your content is worthless if you don't practice for essay. So for example, I prepared and I wrote essay, typed essay within the time on uniform civil code, because it was a buzzword at that point of time. So it's very crucial. You take the element of both current affairs and something static, which is continuously happening in the news. So you need to go through and find content and write about those topics.
तो ये आप कहाँ लिखते थे, लैपटॉप में या फिर वर्ड पैड में, नोट पैड में? हाउ डिड यू यूज टू राइट योर डिस्क्रिप्टिव प्रैक्टिस?
So definitely you were my virtual mentor. So you told me that use Notepad, don't use Microsoft Word because spell correction
Autocorrection,
automatically happens. So I used to use that Notepad which is inbuilt in our laptop. So I used that. And then I used to copy paste the entire content and put on Microsoft Word just to see the word count, that how many words I have wrote and in what time.
और मिस्टेक्स भी, स्पेलिंग वगैरह पता लग जाती थी.
Exactly. I used Grammarly to improve upon my grammar mistakes. So I learned a lot from the software.
और डिस्क्रिप्टिव इंग्लिश में नरवीश सर हेल्प्ड यू अ लॉट, यू टोल्ड मी. सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ हेल्प यू अवेल्ड फ्रॉम हिम, और उससे आपको क्या मतलब फ़ायदा हुआ?
Okay, so if I talk about descriptive writing in English, I have never written any Pressy till date. So what happened was, when I saw your video, you suggested, okay, watch Narvesh sir's video. So I went through the entire 3 things, the essay, the Pressy writing and the comprehension, and I took some key takeaways. Okay, like you should not input facts and figures in the Pressy. You should be more generic, and you should input the comprehensive thing in the Pressy instead of putting the specific things. So that I learned from his videos. I used to practice it in my laptop, and I used to get it evaluated by some of my friends. So that is how I went with.
तो प्रेसी में आपके आई होप अच्छे नंबर आए होंगे अब. What is your score in descriptive English? कम है वैसे, 51 है.
So descriptive English of best.
So were you able to complete the paper of descriptive?
Yeah, I completed the entire paper. Even I managed to save 10 minutes so that I can read the entire thing and make the typo errors corrected, and any spelling error or some word which I have missed out on. So I corrected those also, but I am very disappointed that.
इनके मार्क्स एफएम में हम बता ही चुके हैं 74 है, इंग्लिश में 51 और ईएसआई में 56. टोटल इज अराउंड 182, बिटवीन 182 एंड 183. और इंटरव्यू में इनके 48 मार्क्स हैं, विच मेक्स हिज ओवरऑल मार्क्स लाइक 231.
230.5.
बट आप इससे एक चीज़ देख रहे हैं कि मतलब आपको कोई एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी मार्क्स नहीं चाहिए. मतलब ईएसआई में 56 विच इज़ एक्चुअली वेरी गुड, बट मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि हमें 70-80 चाहिए. इंग्लिश में 51 विच आई फील बाई हिज स्टैंडर्ड्स दे आर लो. ठीक है, बिकॉज इनकी जो कम्युनिकेशन वाली चीज़ें बहुत अच्छी है. सो थॉट्स आर ऑल्सो स्ट्रक्चर्ड. मे बी आई डोंट नो समथिंग हैपन. इसीलिए मैं बोलता हूँ कि किसी एक्सपीरियंस मेंटर से एवेल्युएट करवा लेनी चाहिए चीज़ें. यू नेवर नो, कुछ सिली मिस्टेक्स होती हैं. एफ एक सब्जेक्ट में इन्होंने अपना स्ट्रेंथ दिखाया, बाकी सब में मॉडरेट भी किया. ही गॉट सेलेक्टेड. मतलब कुछ ऐसा नहीं है यार कि 100 में से हर सब्जेक्ट में 80 नंबर लाने हैं. इंटरव्यू में भी इट्स लाइक ठीक है, बहुत फाड़ू नहीं बट बुरा भी नहीं. 48. सो एनीथिंग बिटवीन 45 to 50 इज गुड. इट्स इज वेरी डिसेंट. एक्सेप्शनली नो, इफ यू आर एक्सेप्शनली गुड, आप 60-70 नंबर लेके आ सकते हैं. सो बहुत इनके मैं बोलूँगा एक बैलेंस्ड मार्क्स हैं. और अगर आप ज़्यादा नहीं पढ़ना चाहते हैं, ज़्यादा इसमें नहीं घुसना चाहते हैं, दीज काइंड ऑफ मार्क्स इज़ व्हाट आई थिंक कैन मेक यू गेट सेलेक्टेड. टाइम मैनेजमेंट कोई दिक्कत आती है फेज 2 एग्जाम जब आप दे रहे होते हैं, लाइक एज इन फेज 1 एग्जाम में आती है?
If you have practiced a little bit and you feel your typing speed is okay, I don't think you will feel any time problem. But the only problem you face is holding yourself for the 3 continuous papers in the same day.
बैठने की ही दिक्कत आ जाती है.
Exactly. That's the only issue. Otherwise, you are not.
Concentration, back pain, I think shoulder भी slouch होने लग जाते हैं.
Yes, that brightness and all. So it reduces your speed considerably. So that's why you need to hold yourself very well.
तो आप हाँ, तो I think students should practice these kind of mocks. जहाँ पे आप तीनों एक दिन में दे रहे हैं, so that you get accustomed to that.
Yes, I did that even one day before the examination just to take a hand.
मैराथन सेशन की आपने बात की थी कि गुरकीरत सर और कृतिका मैम के वीडियोस से आपको बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ. So did you watch all the marathon sessions and were you making any notes out of them?
Okay, so I had that anticipation that after marathon session, a Maha marathon is also going to happen. So basically, I didn't make any notes from these sessions. I used to have a heavy concentration on this so that whatever visual I am getting, it gets input in my brain. So once you see the video and again you see the same thing in Maha marathon. So after 2-3 iterations, it gets imprinted in your brain. So even in ESI objectives, there were some questions which were from Devanshu sir's video, like from
The reports and all.
Yeah, exactly. So that is how you can take leverage of it. You should not invest a lot of time making notes on everything. You just skim through the video, you just watch it again and again if possible, or else you go with the RBI notifications, then marathon, then Maha marathon, and your job is done.
So guys, काफ़ी कुछ सीखने को मिला होगा आपको अभी तक. डिस्क्रिप्टिव पे बहुत फोकस कीजिएगा. मयूर ने भी बहुत मेहनत की है, बहुत सारे पॉइंट्स, डेटा पॉइंट्स लिखे हैं, बहुत सारी प्रैक्टिस की. आई थिंक दैट्स द की. बाकी तो कंटेंट तो आपको पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा एज पर योर सिलेबस. मयूर, इंटरव्यू की बात करते हैं, लास्ट स्टेज ऑफ आर आई मीन दिस इंटरव्यू. तो इंटरव्यू में जब आपका इंटरव्यू था, आई थिंक दिसंबर में था आपका इंटरव्यू.
December last day.
इट वॉज द आई थिंक लास्ट डे ऑफ द इंटरव्यूज. और आपने मुझे बताया कि आपका इंटरव्यू लास्ट डे पे भी लास्ट था.
I was the last person.
So how was it like sitting there for 8 hours and just waiting for your turn and watching people coming out? Some would be sad, some would be happy. क्या क्या चल रहा था आपके दिमाग में? और मैं मयूर की एक इंटरव्यू वाले दिन की फ़ोटो भी यहाँ दिखाना चाहूँगा. गाइस प्लीज़ फ़ोटो लाइए. सो मयूर, ये इंटरव्यू दिन की फ़ोटो है, राइट?
Right.
कहाँ पे था आपका इंटरव्यू?
It was in New Delhi itself, the Sansad Marg office of RBI.
सांसद मार्ग. और दैट्स नियर द ओल्ड पार्लियामेंट.
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly.
हाँ. So that's adjacent to PTI building actually.
Yes.
तो क्या फीलिंग आ रही थी उस दिन कि यार मैं तो लास्ट में हूँ?
I was a little bit nervous and curious. I wanted to know, okay, what I would be asked, because I followed that culture that don't ask people what they were asked.
वो unnecessarily pressure डालता है.
Pressure and stress हो जाता है. So you should refrain from this practice of asking anybody who is coming out from the interview room. You should not ask anything from them. You just let them go and you just sit relaxed. So basically, the entire day I was definitely going through the monetary policy report because monetary policy review happened. So I read that. I went with the Business Standard newspaper because a very interesting question was asked from me in the interview. Like, if you have read economics, just frame a question and answer it yourself. We won't judge upon your answer. So there was an article from Chief Economic Advisor that I mentioned in my in Telegram channel also, the RBI_GB. So I mentioned that in the channel also. So I used that Chief Economic Advisor's editorial from the newspaper. I framed the question and I threw a question and they were a little bit like satisfied. Though they asked supplementary questions which I disapproved. So that is how it went. So you need to be thorough with the current day topic, whatever is going in the newspaper. So, and again, the favorite subject, financial management, I was preparing that day. And the RBI was definitely very hospitable to us. They provided us lunch, coffee and tea were available.
लंच में क्या देते हैं फिर वो?
Lunch में there were very like many options, like dal makhni was there, some
बफे था मतलब एक तरह से.
a lot of things were there.
पर उस दिन भूख ही नहीं लगती है.
Yeah, you take to eat desserts also. And obviously you were skeptic, okay, what if I feel drowsy? So just don't eat a lot of things, right?
और फिर 4 बजे लगा होगा कि अब दे दो वो लंच जब इंटरव्यू खत्म हो गया, अब मैं खाऊंगा.
Exactly, and it was very tasty. And obviously I would like to recommend whatever you eat, just you remember, some people were asked that question, what did you eat?
उतना तो आई थिंक पता ही होगा यार.
That person couldn't answer that question.
That is what nervousness does to you, right? अभी एक और फोटो देखते हैं इनकी, ज़रा जूम कीजिए. ये इनके स्टडी डेस्क पे फोटो लगी है. आई थिंक जस्ट डेज बिफोर द इंटरव्यू डिसाइडेड कि मुझे इन चीज़ों को प्रायोरिटी देनी है. तो देखिए यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है मैनरिज्म है, HR क्वेश्चंस हैं, ऑल दैट. ठीक है, करंट अफेयर्स हैं. तो ये आपकी प्लानिंग थी एज यू आर ऑलवेज ऑर्गेनाइज. तो व्हाट आर द एरियाज यू प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर द इंटरव्यू?
Okay, so I divided into two parts, HR and technical, like we used to do for private also. So I prepared a list of 40 to 50 questions, like based upon my biodata, and I answered them within a time of 1 month, because 40 50 questions answering is a little bit difficult task. So I prepared those questions and I went with the technical ones based upon the current affairs. So I was very thorough with the newspaper, because I used to make the handwritten notes of newspaper. The major things which are popping up in the newspaper, so I used to prepare those. Then I again went with the union budget, just for a sake of, like, if anything pops up. So I took that. Then for like this, the basic is current affairs only. Then since my profile is audit assistant, so I went with the basic nitty-gritties of audit and what audit procedure is followed in RBI, and the balance sheet of RBI. What are the major items in RBI's balance sheet? Who audited the balance sheet of RBI last year? So that is how you need to work according to yourself. Like,
so basically 3 areas. One is your HR.
yeah,
And then second is your HR is based on biodata. And second is your what do we say?
Technical current affairs based.
Current affairs. And the third one is related to your education or your work experience. तो आपने जो ये प्रिपेयर किया इंटरव्यू में यही पूछा कि पूरी गूगली हो गई?
It was a sort of googly, because they saw that my background is in commerce and I'm a postgraduate. So they continuously threw questions from balance sheet. So I would recommend, if there is any commerce aspiring, to just go with the balance sheet of RBI very thoroughly. And whatever impact is happening with the monetary policy, fiscal policy, you should be aware of it in the entirety.
और आपसे कुछ क्वेश्चन भी पूछा गया था कि नोट के ऊपर क्या लिखा है, आपने बताया था, उसके बारे में बताइए.
Yes. So the regional director of Delhi, he asked me this question: at what promise is written in the currency note? So basically, when I was in 10th standard, my teacher was teaching 11th, 12th class students. Okay, this is the promise which is written in the legal tender. So I remember those lines. Okay, मैं धारक को 500 रुपया अदा करने का वचन देता हूँ. So I quoted that in Hindi also. So they were a little bit impressed. Okay, this is not, he's not a like sort of English person. He knows Hindi also. So then they asked, like, if some case happens in RBI, if a person comes in, you exchange this currency note. So what would you do? So I told them, okay, I will exchange it with some other denomination currency notes or coins and maybe gold or any other asset that RBI may deem fit. So the interviewer was really impressed with that answer, because in that nervous situation, not even a single candidate in the entire interview process could say other denomination, because that.
मतलब कि अगर कोई 500 का नोट लेके आ रहा है तो मेरा आंसर होगा कि मुझे उसको RBI को पैसे वापस करने हैं, तो मैं 100 के 5 नोट दे दूंगा, which is very simple, right? Commonsensical, but people could not answer it before you, because again nervousness आ जाती.
Exactly. So that is the point in question, that you need to stay calm. If you are not able to answer questions, like 2-3 questions, and you say, I'm not aware of it, I will definitely read it afterwards, that is totally fine. You just need to hold yourself, okay, the next question is
confidence positive. If you're not able to answer, just say it very firmly. That's I'm really sorry for this. I should have read this, but I'm sure that I'll go back after the interview and complete this and understand this. That shows a learning capability inside you. That shows a kind of positivity inside you. My last question to you, Mayur, before we sign off. आपने EduTap का mock interview दिया था. So उसमें आपको क्या feedback मिला था? And what was the learning from that mock interview?
Okay, so basically what I learned from that interview was that my technical knowledge and current affairs knowledge was still not fine. They asked me about the supply chain resilience agreement that happened under IPS. So I couldn't answer that question. I just had a knowledge of 4 pillars under IPF, and that India is not a part of trade pillars. So I had that much information. So there they gave feedback, okay, you have 10 days, 11 days left, so you can just go through these topics more thoroughly. So then I again began reading of those Vision IAS magazines, and I again read for 4 months, 3-4 months, I guess. And I skimmed the topics which were relevant for RBI interview, and though it did not help much, but definitely you need to be sure that if they ask what will happen, what would happen if you didn't read about de-dollarization and they ask about it. So you should read thoroughly about 3-4 months current affairs.
अच्छे से पढ़िए, क्योंकि पर्सनालिटी तो देखिए एक नेचुरल चीज़ है, वॉट एवर यू हैव यू विल एग्जिबिट, नॉलेज तो आप गेन कर सकते हैं. मयूर, एक और लास्ट क्वेश्चन. आज का मयूर 3 से 4 साल पुराने मयूर को क्या मैसेज देना चाहेगा?
A simple message that don't live in much hustle. Just take time, recuperate, have fun, and just learn from your previous failures.
Wow. Thank you, Mayur. So it was an honor to have you here, and I hope that your interview will guide a lot of aspirants, especially from the commerce stream or the UPSC background stream, and they will get a lot of clarity. और मयूर का एक टेलीग्राम चैनल भी है, and they would like to guide people उस टेलीग्राम चैनल पे, so you can tell them the address of your telegram channel so that people can search it and join it.
Okay, so it is RBI_GB. You can also write in Telegram RBI Grade B Mayur Agrawal. So you'll get through my channel and you can join it. I will share my notes and whatever I've prepared for current affairs. I've already shared a lot of things, but specifically for phase 2 and interview, I'll just gradually I'll update things.
So guys, please join. Take guidance from somebody who has already been through the process. ठीक है, हम तो यही चाहते हैं कि आपका फ़ायदा हो, और ज्वाइन कर गाइडेंस लीजिएगा, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स व्हाट आई से इज कि हम हर ग्रुप ज्वाइन कर लेते हैं, बट देन इट्स लाइक लॉट ऑन आवर प्लेट एंड वी आर नॉट एबल टू फॉलो इवन वन. तो हर बंदा अपना ग्रुप बनाएगा, बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स के ग्रुप हैं और बहुत सारे चैनल्स हैं, बट यू डिसाइड योर प्रायोरिटीज एंड स्टिक टू इट. दैट वुड बी माई मैसेज. Thank you guys, have a nice day and wish you best of luck for your upcoming exam. Thank you, have a nice day. Jai Hind.